A teacher accused of grooming students with drugs, cash, and explicit videos is now facing potentially dozens of new charges, and the latest allegations are even more horrifying. A new shocking affidavit reveals claims of group sex and a scream mask, drugging with mushrooms, and a husband who allegedly knew what was going on and even threatened a victim. I'm going to break down these disgusting and disturbing new allegations right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, we are revisiting an incredibly disturbing case that we previously covered here on Sidebar. The story of Brittany Fortinberry, a former Indiana substitute teacher who was charged with sexually abusing a 15-year-old boy and sending explicit messages, pictures, and videos to other students at her school. Those are the main allegations. But unfortunately, we are not returning with a positive update. No, instead, this case has taken an even darker turn, as Fortinberry is now potentially facing additional charges, dozens of additional charges, with allegations that she molested at least 10 underage boys. Now, when we first brought you this story, Fortinberry was charged, facing allegations that she sexually assaulted the 15-year-old and sent a wave of inappropriate content to other students. And following her arrest, she reportedly made a bizarre statement to police, claiming that she regretted losing 150 pounds and would have acted differently if she were still heavier. And since then, the big update? 5 more alleged victims have reportedly come forward, resulting in a slew of potential new charges. And these new allegations claim that Fortinberry sent nude photos and videos to minors, showed off sex toys and a stripper pole in explicit messages, and spent hundreds of dollars on weed, vapes, clothing, gifts for the boys. And as we delve further into this case, I want to warn you, as you probably guessed, the details are incredibly graphic and disturbing. According to a newly obtained probable cause affidavit, one alleged victim claimed that Fortinberry sent him topless photos and videos of herself using sex toys. Another alleged that she pleasured herself to his school photos and sent him videos of herself performing sexual acts with his boxers. One boy even claimed that Fortinberry drugged him with a clear liquid, leaving him feeling dizzy and disoriented. He says the last thing he could remember was Fortinberry getting on top of him and engaging in sex acts. So this new probable cause affidavit that was filed on March 14th reveals that the investigating officer had requested Fortinberry be charged with 9 counts of child molestation, 1 count of sexual misconduct with a minor, 8 counts of dissemination of matter harmful to a minor, all felonies, by the way, and 5 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And this would be, by the way, in addition to what she is already charged with, which is 3 counts of sexual misconduct with a minor, 1 count of dissemination of matter harmful to minors, and 1 count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. It's a mess. It's a mess. So before we dive into what are truly disturbing allegations outlined in this affidavit, I want to quickly recap how we got here. So, an investigation into Fortinberry's alleged conduct was launched in August of 2024 after 2 students reported that this former teacher had apparently sent them inappropriate videos of sex toys, a stripper pole, nude pictures. Fortinberry reportedly resigned from her position with the Metropolitan School District of Martinsville on August 23rd. But by November, she was charged with 2 counts of dissemination of harmful matter to minors and 2 counts of harassment using a computer network or electronic communication. You go to December, and then a separate incident came to light after a woman told Morgan County prosecutors that her grandson had revealed he was involved in inappropriate sexual conduct with Fortinberry. Last month, she was hit, as I mentioned, with 3 counts of sexual misconduct with a minor, another count of dissemination of matter harmful to minors, and 1 count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And now, in this new probable cause affidavit, the investigating officer is requesting additional charges based on 5 more alleged victims who have apparently come forward with sexual abuse allegations. Yeah, this is just an insane story, to say the least. But look, it's an important one to bring awareness to what is happening out there in these teacher-student cases. And so for that, I want to quickly call out and thank our sponsor, Sally, because it's their support that helps us to make episodes like this. Now, Sally is an incredible eSIM service app. I recently went on vacation vacation to Italy. Sally is something I could download on my phone because I used so much data while I was away. While everybody else is dealing with roaming fees and having issues with their cell data, you can use Sally as a hotspot to easily plan your activities. So with the Sally app, getting an eSIM couldn't be simpler. You just buy a plan on the Sally app, you activate it, and once you have it activated, you're good to go. You can use the internet wherever you go. And once the Sally eSIM is installed, there's no need to install a new one for each country. The same eSIM can use plans that are available in over 190 countries. So go to Sally.com/sidebar, click the link in the description or pinned in the comments to get an exclusive 15% discount on Sally data plans. And be sure to use our promo code SIDEBAR at checkout. That's Sally.com/sidebar, promo code SIDEBAR. So before we go any further into this, I want to bring on Indiana trial attorney Ashley Hadler to break down everything that we're seeing here. Ashley, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time. Your general thoughts on this, and a case that was already bad to begin with is now allegedly even worse.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Jesse, after we spoke about this last time, how any of us thought that it could get worse. But certainly with the additional facts that have come to light and the additional victims who have come forward, now we know we are dealing with something that is very, very broad in scope. It was happening for a long time. It was happening while many adults seem to have knowledge about it, and just horrific acts that are going to scar these victims for life.
Legal point here. My understanding is she has not officially been charged as of yet with these new potential charges. Prosecutors have only filed a motion to add the new charges. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the legal process behind filing these new charges, and also the sheer volume and severity of these allegations, these charges? How does it impact a prosecutor's ability to try this case?
So at this point, you're correct, Jesse. There's been a motion to add these charges. So the probable cause affidavit has been filed outlining for the court what the evidence is to date, and the prosecutor believes that that is enough information to move forward. We have not seen the acceptance of that by the court, adding them. You'll see on the docket, it will say information filed, and you will see those additional charges added after they've been accepted. But what we're dealing with, you outlined the number of charges, and just to give the viewers an idea, one level 1 felony carries with it a potential sentencing term of 20 years at a minimum, up to 40 years at a maximum. So as we have these just compiled on one another, we're looking at this woman potentially spending the rest of her life in prison.
What are potential defenses to this? I'm going to be laying out a lot more of the allegations, and they are so disturbing that you think the level of detail and what we're talking about, how do you make something like this up? But the prosecution still has to put on a case. Talk to me about what you anticipate could be potential defenses to challenge, the current charges or the potential new charges.
It is difficult to imagine at this point, with just the level of facts available, the number of witnesses available. But certainly, the prosecutor would have to meet that burden, and we'd have to have a jury accept beyond a reasonable doubt that the story and allegations as made by the victims is true, and that those would be verified. We have not seen much yet in the information that's been filed about any video evidence, any cameras from the home. Sometimes the police department will also obtain footage that they can from neighborhood cameras or nearby businesses. A lot of the allegations in the affidavits included her transporting victims to and from her home at certain periods of time. So there may be potential evidence out there that has not been outlined yet for us. But I think as far as defenses, it will be an uphill battle. And all we've seen in the limited interview that the defendant gave was that she said at first that she had mental health issues and potentially tried to blame that. And we have not seen much else. I think it will be difficult though.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean I wish I didn't lose 150 pounds? That would have... if that weren't the case, I mean, if you take that statement as true, I don't, even not from a legal point of view, one of the main questions that we have in any of these cases is if these allegations are true, why somebody would do this. That is a very interesting admission if true, because it kind of gives you an insight into, you know, this idea of maybe validation, a newfound confidence. I'm not justifying this in any which way, but you're trying to explain it. But to have that potential admission is very interesting, to say the least, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's someone, you know, we know from the information to date that she had a lot of other events in her past with jobs where she was working as a stripper for a period of time. She had some online services that she used where paid subscribers could view her and explicit images of her. So it seems that she is a person who sought that validation, and it lines up with some of the statements that she made.
Okay, so now I have to unpack a little bit more of the details in this new affidavit. We have this investigating officer, Sergeant Patrick Williams of the Morgan County Sheriff's Office, and he says he first became aware of the alleged inappropriate conduct on February 25th when he was contacted by the mother of one of these alleged victims. And that mother reported that her son had been allegedly groomed and abused by Brittany Fortinberry, a former teacher and family friend. So the mother explained that she and Fortinberry were friends, that Fortinberry would sometimes help her watch her children, and that is how Fortinberry got to know her son, whose name is being withheld for privacy. However, the mother told Sergeant Williams that she noticed Fortinberry's interactions with her son seemed different from her interactions with her other children, and this raised alarm bells. For instance, the mother said that Fortinberry purchased expensive gifts for her son, including football gear, and even spent $300 on him. So the mother said she decided to put a stop to this. She later discovered that Fortinberry had added her son on Snapchat. The mother instructed her son to block Fortinberry, but the situation apparently didn't end there, because when she saw news coverage of Fortinberry's prior arrest for a case involving alleged past conduct, she confronted her son, asked if anything happened, and what he revealed, or allegedly revealed, was absolutely horrifying. According to the affidavit, the mother said that, quote, her son told her Brittany sent him pictures, videos of her using her sex toys, having threesomes with other men, intercourse with other men, and said these were in a group chat on Snapchat. And her son also disclosed that Fortinberry allegedly drugged him with shrooms and alcohol and pressured him into performing sex acts with her. And even more disturbing, this mother apparently told the officer that Fortinberry allegedly hid the mushrooms in food so her son wouldn't know he was consuming them. According to the affidavit, her son told her that Brittany would put the shrooms on a peanut butter sandwich so they couldn't taste them. Now, the horror didn't stop there, because the mother also revealed that Fortinberry's husband, Nicholas Fortinberry, was allegedly aware of the abuse and even threatened her son to keep him silent. According to the affidavit, she says that her husband also knew about things and threatened to slaughter her son in front of her if he came forward. Pretty sickening, to say the least. And by the way, Fortinberry's husband, Nicholas Fortinberry, he's allegedly involved here as well, facing charges, which we're going to get into in a minute. But Ashley, I mean, talk to me about your reaction to that, because do you think the prosecution can use evidence of purchasing expensive gifts to demonstrate grooming behavior, to just demonstrate these charges? I mean, there's one thing to say how much is documented on Snapchat. Perhaps those are the easier charges to prove, the online dissemination charges, but to use as evidence of further abuse, it's a disturbing case, to say the least.
I think that is an interesting question related to the grooming aspects, because I think it will come down to a matter of what's relevant to the charges at hand if the case does proceed to trial. I think that there's enough information here about the events as they occurred and the criminal acts that the evidence will probably be more closely focused on that. If anything, the defendant may attempt to use some of the other interactions with the victims as evidence to exculpate herself. So it will be interesting to see what facts come in if the case does go to trial.
And as I mentioned earlier, Nicholas Fortinberry, so this is Brittany Fortinberry's husband, allegedly implicated in the case as well. He has since been arrested and charged with intimidation and failure to make a report. And court records indicate that he's scheduled to go to trial in June. I mean, What do you make of his alleged role in all of this? Why would a husband allegedly be okay with this kind of conduct and then, what, turn around and victim shame the minor or threaten this person?
Yeah, I think the statements that he made, as reflected in the documents we see, are horrifying. The threats that he made to these minor boys, the fact that he's blaming the minor boys, that he is making this out to be a consensual sexual relationship or affair with his wife, just is so far from reality that it's scary. And it seems that the charges that have been filed against him are justified, and it will be interesting to learn more details about those as those come to light.
Let me go a little bit more into the details. So Sergeant Williams then interviewed the son, who said he was 13 years old when he met Brittany Fortinberry. And he revealed that he would go to her house when her son and husband weren't around, and that Fortinberry would buy him essentially anything he asked for. According to the affidavit, Brittany would always make him food and would buy him anything he wanted, including vapes, weed, and THC carts. But we haven't even gotten to one of the most disturbing allegations yet. So aside from this minor boy describing how Fortinberry allegedly gave him drugs and pressured him into sex acts, he also recounted a shocking incident where Fortinberry picked him and two friends up, took them to a mall, bought them $600 worth of clothes and shoes, and when they returned to her house, he claimed Fortinberry asked one of his friends to participate in essentially group sex. According to the affidavit, alleged victim said that Brittany gave them more shrooms. Alleged victim said that Brittany turned on a movie, and about 30 minutes into the movie, Brittany asked one of his friends if they wanted to gangbang her. Alleged victim continued, saying his friend said sure. Alleged victim said that Brittany had one condition for them to have the gangbang with her, and that was that they had to wear a scream mask. Yeah, you heard that right. A scream mask, the one from the horror movie franchise. And the boy described another incident that allegedly occurred in August 2024 when he was 14. He said Fortinberry once again coerced him into sexual activity at her house. Ashley, vapes, weed, THC carts, a scream mask. I go back to the idea of the details of this, how much that might help the prosecution's case. But again, does this constitute the charges that she's facing? I would imagine so, even something like contributing to the delinquency of a minor. But I think that those details are so shocking and so specific that it works in the prosecution's favor.
Absolutely. It is horrific. I think the analogy of the horror movie could not be a better analogy. This is something that, we talk a lot about the discrepancy between how we view perpetrators, sexual perpetrators, based on their gender. And if this is something that a male perpetrator had done, certainly there would be absolutely no holding back in the public's view of something like that. And the fact that we see a female who's working in education doing some of these acts and drugging children, and just the level of depravity is just absolutely disturbing here. And
by the way, strength in numbers, right? If you have more than one alleged victim and they're all testifying, which all, by the way, makes me wonder, if you're a prosecutor, do you want this to go to trial? Do you want them describing what allegedly happened to them when they were young boys?
I think from the prosecutor's standpoint, it will come down to what kind of plea agreement they may be able to reach to ensure that the sentencing will be adequate. And here what we're looking at is someone who would need to spend a very, very long time incarcerated, if not a lifetime. So if that is something that is able to be achieved, then if the plea agreement is struck, the victims and the victims' representatives will still be able to provide statements of how this has impacted them in their lives to the court, so that the judge can take that all into consideration during sentencing.
So the day after interviewing this woman and her son, Sergeant Williams then spoke with the mother of another alleged victim. And she explained that her child and the previous woman's son, they had become friends through sports. And she told the sergeant that the other mother had informed her about a disturbing situation involving Brittany Fortinberry in a Snapchat group that was allegedly sharing explicit content. And she also shared that Fortinberry had attended her son's baseball games and even picked up the kids from their house on one occasion, which raised her concern. And this woman's son then apparently spoke with the sergeant, recounted his own experiences, or own alleged experiences with Fortinberry, and he claimed he first met her in July of 2024 when she took him and another minor to the Martinsville Park pool. And after the trip, he claims that Fortinberry added him on Snapchat, which eventually led to her sending, or allegedly sending, explicit content. And the minor described how Fortinberry allegedly bombarded the group with inappropriate material. According to the affidavit, Brittany overloaded them with nudes. Alleged victims said she would send pictures of her being on a lake without a shirt on, of her on the stripper pole, sex toys, and her using them on herself. The minor also detailed a specific incident that allegedly occurred also in August of 2024. He claims that Fortinberry picked him and another minor up very late at night between 1 and 3 a.m. from the Foxcliff North Clubhouse parking lot. She offered them food and vapes and took them back to her house, claiming the other minor needed a phone charger. And while this woman's son waited in the car, Fortinberry allegedly took the other boy, who we're going to refer to as Minor A, into her garage, where they remained for about 45 minutes. And when they returned, the woman's son said Minor A was stumbling and appeared disoriented, telling him Fortinberry allegedly gave him alcohol. He also revealed that Fortinberry had sent a video on Snapchat where she appeared to be engaging in sex acts with her husband, Nicholas Fortinberry. And then the text across the screen reportedly read, "I wish you were having sex with me right now." Now, it's unclear whether Fortinberry sent this video directly to the woman's son or to his friend, as the names of the minors are redacted in the affidavit, but the minor recounted the video to the sergeant as part of his testimony. You know, Ashley, the digital evidence in this case is huge.
It is, yes. And I think, as we touched on before, it will be a matter of how much of that they are able to obtain, how much of that has been preserved, what they get back from the non-party subpoenas that they send to the technology companies that maintain that data. And I think that, like you said, that is a big, big piece of it. And hopefully that preservation has occurred so that they're able to obtain it.
And a big part of this is knowledge of the wrongdoing, which brings me to this part. So Sergeant Williams then claims that he spoke with the parents of another alleged minor victim on March 11th. And the parents apparently told the officer that they were unaware of any inappropriate conduct involving Brittany Fortinberry until they were contacted by the Department of Child Services. Their son had mentioned seeing Fortinberry about a month after her resignation at this basketball game where they apparently hugged and caught up. And the minor allegedly told investigators that Fortinberry later added him on Snapchat, and their communication took a bizarre and disturbing turn because, according to the affidavit, Fortinberry made references to a friend of the show, predator catcher Chris Hansen. According to the affidavit, quote, alleged victim said that Brittany made a comment about her being as old as his mom. An alleged victim said while they were talking, Brittany references a Chris Hansen kind of guy, and when she came out of the shower, he was going to be waiting for her. And what followed was just this alleged onslaught of shockingly inappropriate and graphic content. Fortinberry allegedly sent the minor explicit photos and videos of herself engaging in sex acts. The minor admitted to engaging in the exchange, sending nude photos and videos of sex acts back to Fortinberry, but he later realized, according to him, how wrong the situation was, said how he decided to block her. And before he did, however, Fortinberry allegedly sent him one final message. Alleged victim said that Brittany told him that it's so wrong but feels so right, that if only he was 2 years older or if they had grown up around the same time. Now, Ashley, aside from the fact you think about if these allegations are true, the harm that this causes minors, right? Male, female, we talk about that all the time. And you talk about the preservation of digital evidence, the knowledge component. If she allegedly made that comment, like the Chris Hansen comment, or said like, oh, only if you were older, that really hurts her defense, right?
Certainly. I think that this is someone who was highly manipulative and who was working to cover her tracks in a number of ways. Along with grooming these boys, she was grooming a community. She was grooming parents. She was grooming other mothers. She was grooming people around her to maintain this facade that she was helping the minor, she was helping them in ways that potentially their parents or family members could not, whether that be financially or with transportation. And she absolutely knew what she was doing. Like you said, if the allegations are true, and at this point, we have no reason to believe that they're not. We come from a place of believing survivors, especially when there's this level of information available.
And the age of the alleged victims giving these accounts, does that can defense attorneys work around that and say? Again, I'm struggling to think of what the defense could be, because you're having multiple alleged victims explaining to law enforcement about what happened. But is there something a defense attorney could say, in terms of credibility, their age? I don't know. You tell me.
What we see, unfortunately, with a lot of criminal defenses with sex crimes, and specifically sex crimes that are involving preteens or teenagers where they're approaching the age of consent but haven't reached the age of consent, is this idea of victim blaming. And here you might have, a group of people where they're saying they came up with this together. They spoke to one another, they got their story straight, and then they went forward. And so that is a potential that could be alleged by the defense.
Well, listen, Brittany Fortinberry, currently jailed without bond, faces a slew of charges. Jury trial set for June. Bond hearing scheduled for April 3rd. And despite Brittany Fortinberry's resignation from the school district, the Metropolitan School District of Martinsville has faced scrutiny for its handling of the case. Courtney Vanderventer, a spokesperson for the district, stated that Fortinberry's resignation was unrelated to the allegations, but emphasized that the district is fully cooperating with law enforcement, saying the safety of students is the #1 priority. And the allegations against Fortinberry have left this community in shock. Parents, students, seemingly struggling to come to terms with what is essentially, if the allegations are true, a sickening betrayal of trust by somebody who was supposed to be a friend, a role model, a protector, and an educator. And as the case unfolds, investigators are urging anybody with additional information to come forward. Ashley Hadler, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jesse.
All right, everybody, that is all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, come check us out and please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.